day?
I'm good.
Wonderful.
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Doing well.
Glad to hear it.
A lot of bashful people.
Yes.
People are still streaming in, so we'll give it the obligatory few more Zoom minutes. We're up to 36. Mark, do you have any predictions for today's attendance?
Ooh, let's see. For 36 now, I'm going to go with 48.
Right.
Anybody else want to get in on this action? The payout's huge.
Oh, we just hit 40. Let's give it one more minute.
Gabby Gunn in the house.
Good morning, Mark.
How are you, Gabby?
Doing well. How are you?
Wonderful, thanks. Are the kids healthy?
Yes, they cannot stop growing.
You're feeding them too much.
Oh my gosh, it's like I have teenagers in the house. They never stop eating.
You haven't seen nothing yet. My oldest got to 6'7" in heights, and we couldn't feed enough of him during high school. And his little brother only got to 6'4". So good luck with that.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, shall we? Welcome, everyone, and it's great to see some returning faces in this new year that we hope will be even better than the last in many ways. This is the January meeting of the Clay Safety Net Alliance. My name is Don Phan. I work with the Way Free Medical Clinic, and I have the privilege of being the current chair of the Alliance. And with us this morning, we have the founder of the Safety Net Alliance, Andre von Heerden, who is always inspirational in opening us up. Andre.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. It's our custom to open with prayer. So if you will bow your heads with me, let's pray. Father in heaven, we're thankful for another opportunity to collaborate and work together to better serve those who are in need in our county. I thank you for each person that is logged on this morning and who are participating in the meeting. This morning, we just pray for renewed compassion in our hearts for those who are suffering in whatever area in their lives. We also thank you for the promise to give us wisdom as we offer our unique service to those who are in need. We invite your presence to be amongst us in this meeting, and we thank you for always hearing and answering our prayers in Christ's sake. For Christ's sake, amen.
Thank you, Andre. Gabby, are we still doing the check-in?
You know, I had that ready the last couple of times, but I'm not seeing like huge support in, you know, getting on there. So I think if they just, you know, put it into the chat, then we can go back and do it again.
Great. And if you will indicate if you're new and give your contact information, we'll make sure that you get on the list. And Mark, we just hit 49.
All right.
Fabulous. Well, we're back to Zoom, and it's the beginning of 2022. We were hoping that we might be meeting face to face, but it's probably best that we didn't. And we're still working on the possibility of a nice venue to meet for the majority of this year. And perhaps the health department later on can give us an update on when they think the coast will be clear. Mark, you want to talk about social media and how important it is?
Sure, Don, I'd be happy to. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of 2022. I'm Mark with web904.com, and my job is to remind you to like, post, share, do everything you can on multiple social media channels. For those of you that are on multiple channels, we need to keep the word out there and get the word out there more, especially to our church communities too. There's always a replay of these sessions, so it is being recorded. Watch what you say. I'm kidding. But there'll be a replay link put up here later today, and if you could share that link with others, that would be fantastic. Also in the chat session, if you're or your organization has a particular need, express that need in the chat session, but preface it with pound and the word need, and then let us know how we can help you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Mark. You know, Clay County never ceases to amaze me as to the level of collaboration, the level of emerging communication and coordination. And I think 2022 is going to be a blockbuster year for coordination of services. And we have designed an experience this morning to get input from everyone. I know that some of you have taken the survey that was put out. Some of you probably did not have access to it if you're new, but we'll have discussion around some of those survey questions with the intent to really try to pinpoint, identify what are the emerging needs in Clay County. And we have two of our steering committee members, Calvin Brown and Gabrielle Gunn, who are going to facilitate that process. So fasten your seatbelts and be ready for to get your input in. So I'll turn it over to them.
All right, good morning. Gabrielle Gunn with Impact Clay. The survey that was sent out last week and this week is the same survey that was collected from you all almost 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. And so the goal for this is to do this every year. So do it annually to where Impact Clay can really foster the projects that are really needed within Clay County. And we couldn't do that without all of your feedback. You know, you guys are the boots on the ground. You understand what's going on, what the needs are, you know, with volunteers, with the resources you provide to your organizations, and the list is endless. And so, you know, we really see with our structure that projects are fostered out of the Clay and the Keystone Safety Net Alliance. And the Keystone Safety Net Alliance took this survey a few months ago, and their steering committee is working on collecting that data and using it to meet needs within, you know, Keystone specifically. So I am going to jump in to show you guys the responses so far. If you could put a hand up or put in the chat if you took the survey, that would be great, just so I could get an understanding of how many people in today's meeting completed their survey. So I'm seeing some thumbs up, some hand claps. Nice.
And Callum,
Okay, I'm driving. I'll say yes, I did.
Callum has posted a link to the survey for anyone who'd like to go in now and work on that.
I'm taking it now.
Wonderful. Okay, so even though we won't be able to share your data probably right now, we will be using this for 2022. So let me share my screen so that you guys can see. All right, so the questionnaire. My community has a way to identify its needs. 56.7% said yes. My community has a way to identify all of its resource. That was an even 40-40 with a 20% unsure. My community has a way to jointly plan to share its resources. Wow, that's a good amount of 63.3% saying yes. There are adequate resources in my community to serve children and families. And 73.3% said no. And I think that would be a great one to dive into later on to get more feedback, maybe do a breakout group and really, try and see how we can elaborate on that. School personnel and direct service workers feel they are supported with adequate funding and policies. Again, 70% saying no. Schools in collaboration with communities are developing strategies necessary for children and families to succeed. And so that's a good, the yes of 56.7%. All policies in our community enhance service coordination. That was a 63% majority saying no. My community has a vision regarding family outcomes. And that one's kind of, in the middle, trying to see, maybe we could dive into that more. In our community, families feel that they can adequately communicate with decision makers. And compared to the last time we took this is about the same data that we took in, about 60%. My community has a communication system that links all levels from the chief decision makers to families. Again, the same amount. Decision makers are very comfortable being confronted with problems and not solutions. You can see here on the graph, it's kind of maybe in the middle. My community has a systematic way to bring all chief decision makers together to identify common issues and find shared solutions, with majority of you all saying yes. Managers and supervisors representing the chief decision makers systematically come together to resolve issues and coordinate services. 40% said yes. Our community's process for decision-making and problem solving can be viewed as infrastructure. It is not dependent on individual personalities or positions. That was a majority of you all saying no. And then at the bottom with the 3 questions that you guys had to put a comment through, from your perspective, what are the most significant behavior risk factors within Clay County? We have substance abuse, lack of coordination of resources, transportation. Then we have how effective are the current Clay County programs in addressing those behavior risk factors? And, it's kind of in the middle, somewhat unsure, moderately. Then the last question was, what types of projects would you suggest Impact Clay adopt and implement to combat those behavior risk factors? And so this question was put at the bottom because this really was to get you guys thinking about, after all these questions, prompting you to see what kind of projects. And so the first one is countywide service navigation and coordination system. I can tell you that that is probably going to be here by the end of the year. Wouldn't you say, Don? Yep. Okay, I can't really speak more on it, but it's we have a huge thing coming to Clay, and that need will be met this year. So we are very excited for that. The same one for the second one, more social media awareness, COVID issues, funding to increase transportation center. That's a big one. Seniors, job skills trainings program at the youth. That's a great idea. Buy-in from local government and agencies. I'm not really sure what that is in specifically to, so maybe we can find out a little bit more about that. Housing is a #1 here in Clay County. More youth centers, homeless population. Somebody said Impact Clay and the safety nets need additional funding and support. Yes, that's a great one. More funding. So I would like to dive a little bit deeper. Thank you all for those of you who went into the survey, completed it, gave quite a bit of feedback. Let's see. All right, now you guys can see me, right? Okay, thank you again. We have a couple of questions that Callan suggested we, take from the top 3 or 4 categories. So the top 3 or 4 categories would include drug and substance abuse, mental health, homelessness, poverty, housing, and resource coordination. And so, I don't think resource coordination is something that we should dive deeper in because it is coming. It's going to be here, hopefully by the end of the year. And so that need is going to be met, but maybe, you know, dive deeper into substance abuse and the other topics. Then we're going to have a couple of other questions to get more feedback from. So would anyone like to jump in and, you know, discuss, you know, collaborate with these different topics compared to when we last had this meeting in person? We had those big Post-it notes posted on the wall, and you all went around and you checked the boxes. And then we had breakout groups where we talked about 3 different topics, really dove deeper into those. And then we came back together with possible solutions and possible projects. So this is very similar to what we've done in person. So does anybody want to take it away with any of the topics?
Gabby, I was going to suggest that we actually go into breakout groups to discuss this as a.
If you take the lead on that, I would just so appreciate it.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. Callum Brown here with the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida. I am going to put us into breakout groups because I think it's just easier when you have a smaller group of folks to connect with, and then we'll come back together and discuss. But first thing is I'm putting some questions into the chat. So the questions are really, as Gabby mentioned, our kind of top leading like topics that were identified were mental health, drugs and substance abuse, homelessness, and housing. So the questions are here. I'm going to read them out just so you can hear them again, but they will be in the chat. What would it look like to make progress in one of these areas? So just pick an issue in your breakout group and decide, you know, this is the issue we want to talk about. What would it look like to make progress in that area? What resources do we already know about for this social issue? And are there gaps in those resources? And then lastly, who do we feel needs to be at the table in order to make progress on this issue? And ideas such as, you know, other funders, is it corporate, is it police, you know, the local government, like who really needs to be at the table in order to actually make decisions here and get the county more involved, I would say. So we're going to have those questions in the chat. If you're not familiar with Zoom breakouts, how it's going to work is I'm going to click create the breakout groups. It will send you all into a little group of, you know, 6 or 7 people. You'll still be able to see the chat as it is. So you can pull up your chat and all of those questions will still be there so you can reference back to them. And we're going to give you, I would say, like 15 minutes to discuss because there are going to be a couple folks in there and we want everyone to have a chance to share. And then we'll come back together and we'll give you little warnings and let you know like, hey, time's almost up. So any questions about how to break out? If you can't like come on camera for any reason, that's fine. When you go to your breakout, your chat will actually only be seen by those in your group. So whatever you chat to your group, they'll see. But any other questions right now?
Do you get to choose what group you go in?
It'll just create a random group, but then you guys can discuss in that group what issue you want to talk about. Great question. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to open the breakout rooms now, and we will give you some updates and check the chat for the questions.
Thanks, Kellen.
No problem. All right, so you should have a pop-up in front of you now inviting you to a group. I'm going to hang back for a minute and make sure everybody is assigned. Let's see. Dawn, if you want to pause the recording, because it's just going to be like a blank slate. It can't record. Yeah. All right, welcome back, folks. We have like 30 seconds left and everybody should be flooding back in. Great. Okay, I see everybody's flooding back in now. Welcome back. Okay, so that was, I know, a super quick combo. 15 minutes can feel like a long time, but it can also go by really, really quick when we're talking about services and gaps in those services, et cetera. So I was hopping around to all kinds of rooms, and I heard there was, people that talking about housing and people talking about senior services and poverty, and we kind of were all over the gamut here. So I was just hoping that we could hear from a couple of groups. Doesn't have to be every single group and really strict and regimented, but if there's like a spokesperson for a group that could just share like what topic you picked, and then what were some of the either services that you identified as lacking or that we really need. I would love to just hear from some folks, and I'm cool with awkward silences, and I'm also cool with calling on people. So I'm gonna
Well,
give it
I can get us started, Callan, to make it easier.
Okay,
All right. So our group, there was 6 of us, and we talked about mental health, specifically in the education realm of things. And so one of the last things that was said before we were flooded back into the main group was more parents at the table for education of mental health and how that can be affecting them at, elementary, junior high, and high school levels. One of the things, the questions were, what resources do we already know about, or what are the gaps in those resources? And so something was, we said that, what if there was a room in each school, or, starting at the high school level, where individuals could go, that it was monitored, where the students could have a day or have a couple of periods to themselves where, if they're dealing with anxiety or depression or things like that, they're still counted as here at school, but they have a safe place to go to. And it really brought up a great model from Lake County of the ROC program, where they have a classroom that has, it started at Leesburg High School, and they have a classroom that has volunteers, it has counseling, mental health, or a medical assistance, a clothes closet, food. And so starting that at somewhere in each of the high schools. Another topic was something said about social media and cyberbullying, because that is a huge mental health issue. Maybe raising an awareness campaign. Is that present here in Clay County? Is that something that could be worked on, trying to implement more within these schools? And then just teaching students about their bodies and about life, and how they're growing, to help them understand why they might be feeling this way, or, different topics like that. I think I hit on all of the questions. Oh, and then the right people at the table. It was suggested to have somebody from licensing at the table. Impact Clay has the movers and shakers, the stakeholders within the county at the table for these projects, but somebody that we don't have is someone in licensing. So I'll have to dive deeper into that one. But we had a great group session.
Great, Gabby. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, I wonder, is there another spokesperson from another group that wants to share a little bit about what you're talking about? I see Stephanie came off mute.
Yeah, this is Stephanie. Hi. I was just making sure I wasn't going to interrupt anybody. So I was in group 6, and I think we had some people that were having some technical difficulty, but there were, I think, 5 or 6 of us in the group. It kept fluctuating because I think maybe because you were coming in and out, and Dawn came in a couple of times. But we talked about drugs and substance abuse, and we first talked about how broad that is, and what is it that people are concerned about? Are they concerned about the drug use that's going on by people in the county that are in the overdoses? Are they concerned about the drug houses that are being busted? Are they concerned about the lack of prevention education that's available for young people? So it's super broad. And so where do you start? And what we know is that, we do have some new resources that are available in our community, especially for people who are who are overdosing, and that they are being offered treatment options and a path to recovery. But we also know that a lot of people do not take advantage of that. But there is a resource that's available to our community members through our fire rescue and the Overdose to Action grant that we received in our community. And but we also know, we have some mandates from the state that guide substance abuse prevention education that should be happening in our school district. And what we know is that it's not really a comprehensive program that's being provided to our students. And that program, if it was comprehensive like it used to be, like we used to have, would be a 10-week program or 10 to 12-week program that would cover some of those mental health and substance abuse issues, and building that whole child, and talking about some of those goal setting and decision making and all of those things that would build a healthier mindset in the child, and maybe not steer them towards some substance use behaviors, and they may not be as willing or as needed to try to self-medicate and things like that. And then we know that there are some gaps in our resources that are available. We don't have a lot of, or we don't have any inpatient treatment really going on, and to help people who are trying to reach recovery. And there is really nothing inpatient for young people, and very little outpatient services available for young people. A lot of our programs are 18 and older, and they're dependent on having health insurance or having the ability to pay for that service. Let's see. So we have a lot of gaps in services that are available for prevention, treatment, and recovery, actually. And then who needs to be at the table? I think everybody. We need businesses at the table, because we need to have people who are employable and who can pass a drug screen. We have law enforcement, we need the school district, we need churches, we need everybody at the table, because it's everywhere, and most people just aren't realizing it. So that's it. I'll stop.
No, that's great, Stephanie. I really appreciate that. And like the details around what's missing and who do we need at the table, those are really important. So thanks for sharing that. Gives us more stuff to think about. Okay, so we've heard about kind of the mental health and education side and substance abuse. I wonder, is there a group that would want to share maybe about either the poverty, homelessness, or housing? I know there was a couple of different groups I popped into that were talking about that. Anyone want to share?
I can go for our group.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
So when we started talking about homeless, it obviously tied everything back together. Homelessness, drug abuse, and all of that. So just from what I've seen and what we discussed was, there's kind of two different groups or categories of homeless from what we've dealt with. The one is basically the ones that have no other option, have moved to the woods, they're doing their thing. And that's a much larger population than what most people realize, kind of like the drug abuse population. People in Clay County want to think we don't have those problems here because we're not Jacksonville. And I know on the drug abuse side, we've got some stuff that we're doing to continue working on education and some events planned. One of the other category is going to be and mostly it seems like younger, some older, is the ones that are couch surfing. They've upset whoever they're living with, or they don't feel like they can live there anymore. They're going from house to house until they hit the point that they have to stay on the street, or they find a place to go. One of the biggest challenges that we've had with our program is that we can have all the drug programs in the world and we can help people, but if their only option is to go back to the drug house or live in a shed with no water, no power on somebody's property, which we've seen a lot of that, there is no place. We have a huge need for emergency housing. There's really very limited options. I was telling our group about a lady that we had, 40-year-old, been in and out of substance abuse treatment and stuff. She was in a bad situation. We were able to get her some temporary housing through Human Services, and we ended up having to put her back into Zen up off of Wells Road, which is one of the major hubs of where all the drugs are. Well, it's right where they're coming into the county. And we have similar issues with stay suites, in-town suites. So even our temporary issue is putting them right back into the problem, which is just making it worse. So for us, we also, I'm part of the committee for public safety for the Gateway to Clay project, and we'll be addressing a lot of those issues along the Wells Road corridor. We've got some, Don is part of it. We've got Department of Health. We got the chief from the Orange Park Fire Department. We've got some people from the sheriff's office that have been working that issue. So we're going to be looking at what are our options for all of those homeless camps up and through there to try to relieve some of that. And I think we start with just offering some services. If we can just offer the services to the ones that want help, we have a better chance of maybe getting them out of that situation. You're always going to have the people that just want to be left alone. They want to live there. They want to stay off the radar. That's a whole nother discussion and a whole nother set of issues of how do we try to deal with that. But I think that's going to be our starting point. But I think the emergency housing is probably going to be one of our first foremost issues. So.
Thanks, Glenn. And yeah, I know housing was also discussed in relation to like senior services in another group I popped in, and how there's just, you know, with COVID especially, it's kind of been compounded, and there's a way bigger lack than there has been in the past. So I definitely think that's something, you know, I loved hearing about, you know, Gateway to Health, and hearing from, I know we'll have project updates in just a bit, but like the behavioral health group that meets up, and then how Food for Clay started. I think this is the conversation that really needs to be had, because this is how we then form these little coalitions and groups to bring these resources together, right? Bring these groups of resources together. So that's really helpful. Thank you. I just want to see, is there maybe like one other group, one other spokesperson that wants to share about anything maybe that we haven't quite touched on yet? Anyone else out there? Going once.
So Callan, I don't know if you saw the chat. Cheryl Owen said one of the major issues is a lack of financial resources. I would suggest that the NET form a task force to tackle the resource issue, looking toward increased federal, state, and county funding. So I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but the county now has a grants program that you are able to apply for grants to, and they actually look for the grants that are federal, state, and at a county level. So if you're not aware of that, that grants program is up and running, and they are working really hard on that grant funding aspect of things.
Great, thank you, Gabby. Okay, so I think if there's no one else that wants to share at this point, I will just give, you know, a shout out to, of course, that's why we are so thankful for you, coming to Clay Safety Net Alliance to hear about these issues, taking the survey. If you haven't taken the survey yet, you have that link. I'll post it again at the end, so you can maybe share it with other colleagues or other people in your networks, because really that survey and like this group are the main ways that, you know, Clay Safety Net Alliance is hearing about these things, Impact Clay and Gabby is hearing about these things, bringing them to her, you know, her leadership table, and basically saying, you know, these are things we need to focus on in 2022 for Clay County. And these are the kinds of projects that we want to fund and help promote. So, you know, I know Gabby always has a couple of projects going. Before we kind of move on to next things, I don't know if Gabby, if you want to share any updates about Impact Clay projects.
I'll make it quick. On one note, I am accepting more projects. So if you would have a project idea, project that you'd like to get assistance with, you know, exposure, whatever the case may be, please feel free to go to our website, impactclay.org, and submit a project application. I could start working with you on that. Some new projects that we are presenting to our executive roundtable next month are 100+ men who care about Clay County, and their plan is to have their first meeting this first quarter. And then we have the College Drive initiative that was accepted and approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And so we are off to the races on that one. So if you are on College Drive or plan to be on College Drive, please, please, please reach out so that we can make sure you're at the planning, because there are some very, very exciting things coming within the next few months, specifically to the College Drive project. The other things that we have going on, 100+ women are meeting next week at Christ Church. We have 3 nonprofit organizations presenting at that meeting. The Food for Clay project is in a monitoring phase. Thank you all for that support. Thank you for those who attended that meeting in December. That was a collaborative effort between 20+ nonprofit or food-based organizations here in Clay. So thank you for that collaboration. And another thing, Operation Barnabas closed on their property by Clay High School, which will inevitably have 12 rooms for housing, specifically for veterans and first responders. They're working on a volunteer work day, 2 work days actually, to work on that, getting that facility up and running as fast as possible because it is a dire need here in Clay. And then the last thing is that they are putting on an event called For the Vet We Haven't Met Yet. And that event is going to be on April 30th at the Orange Park Mall. And it's going to be a huge family event. There'll be every type of car show available: car, motorcycle, Jeep, classic cars, you name it, the show is going to be there. There'll be a band, vendors. If you'd like to be a vendor, please go to Operation Barnabas website, and anyone is welcome to be a vendor. It's a very small fee, between $25 and $50 to be a vendor for that day. And then there'll be a kids area for games. They're expecting between 5,000 and 6,000 individuals to come to that event. And so it's going to be on the half of the Orange Park Mall on the side of Wells Road. So that's a big event coming. So if you'd like to volunteer, be a vendor, anything, please feel free to reach out. And if you aren't a part of the Clay County Volunteer Portal, please, please, please get on that, because that's the next up and coming thing, volunteer.claycountygov.com. Your organization, if you're a nonprofit organization, it's free to be a part of, and it tracks volunteers. It gets you a part of the volunteer resources of, thousands of individuals who are part of the program. So you can tap into volunteers and also showcase the events that you have coming up that need volunteers. So I hope I haven't missed anything. Thanks, Callan, for putting in that grants link.
Can you give me the volunteer website one more time? Oh, there it
It's
is. Never mind.
Thanks, Callan. So those links that I quickly named off are in the chat.
Great.
Right. So Dawn, are we shifting to either meet the need or project update?
I think the updates, and it sounds like we just got the Impact Clay update. So
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so is someone from the health department here that wants to give their update? No one from the health department today? Okay. Oh,
I am here.
Hey.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rose Morrison Ways. I am the new Chief Health Strategist here at Clay County. Quick background, I've been working serving Clay County for the past 5 years from Healthy Start, and my last position was with the Disease Control and Prevention. And now I'm with our community health. So I look forward to working for everyone. In reference to COVID testing for our county at the Bear Run Clinic by appointment, we are doing rapid testing and PCR testing and vaccinations. There's 3 other locations in Nomi and Clay Fairgrounds, as well as Oakleaf. I will put that in the chat box, and Omega Park as well. And that is it. Any questions for me?
I think we're good, Rose. Thank you.
Okay. I was like, wait, the mic was working? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. What about the behavioral health update? Is Irene here?
I don't think she is.
Yeah, I didn't see her. Anyone from Clay Behavioral or from the behavioral health group?
There's no health without mental health.
Absolutely. Irene would be proud, Don. All right, we're going to skip that one for now. I'm going to go to the Health Planning Council. I see Joyce.
Hi, so we just completed our open enrollment. I'm Joyce Case with the Health Planning Council, and we are finished with our open enrollment. We called it open enrollment year 9, and now we're in the special enrollment period. And the most important thing that you all need to take from this is that there's a new special enrollment for low-income individuals this year that is available all year round. They don't need to have lost in health insurance or nothing. People between 100 and 150% of poverty will qualify for health insurance throughout the year. To give you an example, this is people, a household of 1, a person can make $12,880 up to $19,320 per year and will qualify for basically free health insurance. It's really, really important. We didn't expand Medicaid to adults in this state. We did expand Medicaid to certain children populations, but we did not expand it to adults. And this population would normally qualify for Medicaid in a state that had expanded, but we didn't. But these individuals now eligible for health insurance opportunities all year round. So it's really important that you send anybody that meets that criteria to our partner in Clay County, which is the Way Free Medical Clinic there with Don and his group over there. They really do need to have referrals, you guys. They're really needing folks to see folks. Individuals that also qualify for special enrollment are people who are Medicaid share of costs. That is not considered health insurance by the federal government. And also individuals that are recently released from incarceration, they qualify for a special enrollment period, but people have to do this within a 60-day period. That's with the exception of those that are qualified for the low income SEP. That's what we're calling it, the low income SEP. I'm going to put the information in the chat, my phone number and my email address, and I can get those folks to Don or contact Don. We're also available to do awareness about the marketplace, education about the marketplace, help people understand their health insurance and how to use their health insurance. I mean, we can get people health insurance, but if they don't know how to use it, it's not any good. So we got Don here. You guys, he's our champion in Clay County, so give him a call. That's all I got. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And sorry, my dog decided to go a little crazy now. So I'm going to share to Stephanie. Can you give the Clay Action Coalition update?
Hi, good morning. So we have, yesterday I was in Tallahassee for Behavioral Health Prevention Advocacy Day. And so we spent time meeting with legislators, talking about the impacts of COVID on behavioral health and substance abuse in our state. And we know that we had a probably double the number of opioid overdoses this year or in 2021 compared to 2019 and 2020. And that's, a direct reflection of the impact that COVID has had on the behavioral health of our community and the increase in substance use. And so we just talked about making sure that we have equity and availability of treatment, recovery, and prevention services for our community, everybody, all age groups, all levels of income, no matter what race, sexual orientation, whatever, just making sure that we have equity for everybody and availability of treatment and recovery services for our citizens. And then talking about, there are some bills out now about legalizing marijuana for recreational use, and that how we just feel like it's a horrible time to even consider legalizing another addictive substance when we're still fighting very strongly against this opioid epidemic. And so just bringing some of that information to them just trying to help keep our state healthy and our community safe. And then we, just continue to do our work in the community about reducing access to substances and providing education to students and parents about being healthy and not using drugs. And I don't know is Glenn on your list of people to talk about their program for the opioid response in Clay County? I'd like to give him a few minutes if you have time. That's it for us.
All right, Glenn, can we just wait 1 minute? I just want to do one other quick update. Is the sheriff's office here to give an update? No one from the sheriff's office right now? All right, I'm going to skip it. Very last update is from the Nonprofit Center. Of course, hi, I represent the Nonprofit Center. A quick shout out to basically say that we are so thankful, of course, to the Reinhold Foundation for supporting our work specifically to Clay County nonprofits. So this year, again, in 2022, we have a number of programs and events that are completely free for any nonprofit staff, volunteers, and board members. And we're actually going to have a brand new program for Clay board members. If you have someone that you think is interested in board service or is brand new to board service, we're actually going to have a 2-day board service intensive to kind of give them all the background around board roles and responsibilities, advocacy, fundraising, delegating at meetings, that type of thing, to make them really strong candidates for your nonprofit board. I'll put that information in the chat and I'll let you all know when the application's open for that. It's not for another week or so, but otherwise just stay tuned for other Clay updates from us. And then from there, I know we are going into other meet the needs and updates from the group in general. So Glenn, if you would like to share about the opioid project, please feel free to do so now.
Sure, can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I had to switch up. I had to get on the road. So the program that we did, we just completed our first year, and long story short, we offer medication assisted treatment to those that are struggling with addiction or are in withdrawal, trying to get off of stuff. My guys, we meet them in person, we dose them for up to 7 days, and then we work with Clay Behavioral, and we hand off to Clay Behavioral. And the intent is that they're going to continue to get outpatient care with Clay Behavioral. Right now, this year, we're up to around 80 that we had come into the program, or for last year. Of those 80, Clay Behavioral is tracking about 48 or so that are still coming to get help. Only 2 of that 80 were repeats that had come into the program twice. So we're appearing to be over about 50%, well over 50%, which is great. The overdose statistics that came out for the year that Stephanie was talking about, we were about 7 overdoses away from last year. I think we actually were 7 more this year. Our death rates, which is unofficial because it's based on medical examiners reports, we were about even with last year from what we're seeing so far. So while we didn't cut the number, we didn't get worse, which we had every reason in the world to get worse this year. So the other thing we've got going is a Narcan program. And we gave out, I think, 207 Narcan kits last year without really trying. And we're working on a grant right now that would help us add some staff and really propel the whole Narcan distribution in the county, as well as education.
All right, thanks so much, Glenn. And I think that's it for the other major updates. Dawn, I'll hand it back to you.
Great.
Needs.
As we start to get into our Meet the Need and announcement section, we have James Coggin with us today from the Community Foundation, who will help us meet that need. So it'd be great to give him a little bit of time to announce some funding opportunities.
Thanks, Don. Good morning, everybody. As Don said, we're at the Community Foundation. We're launching our grant cycle coming up on February 1st of this year. We'll have 3 grant opportunities. They'll be going live at that point. Capacity building grants will help organizations better achieve their missions, promote continuous improvement, and increase effectiveness. Within that category, grants up to $10,000 available. We'll have program support grants that focus on launching, expanding, and improving services that support vulnerable populations and address unmet community needs, with grants of up to $25,000 available there. And last but not least, we'll have small organization grants to serve organizations with budgets of under $200,000, with grants of up to $2,000 available in that category. This will all be going live on our webpage, which I'll put in the chat momentarily. And applications will be due on March 23rd, 2022. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead to the webpage today. The applications won't be open, but you can get a little bit more information about each of those opportunities on the page. And if you have any questions that I can help answer, I will include my email address and my telephone number in the chat as well. So feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to talk to anybody that could use a little help.
Fantastic. You know, it's so great that you participated in the Safety Net Alliance. We really appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Well, Mark, you want to get us rolling?
One of the favorite segments of our group is the Meet the Need section. Many of you that might have any particular need, and everybody listen up, because the person with the need, you might be able to know someone who can help them satisfy that need, or you might be able to help them satisfy the need directly. So this is a give and take. Feel free to jump in. Also, put that need in the chat box. Preface it with ## and the word need to make it easier for people to identify where the needs are. And for you younger folks, that's also called hashtag need. But anyways, I'm a ## guy. I do have a very specific need, and it's for a very specific person. Callan, I just realized that the latest picture I have of Marin May was from October around Thanksgiving. How is your baby doing? And can I get an updated picture?
Yes, I will share an updated picture. She's doing great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Glad to hear it. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, if you have a need, don't be bashful.
Mark, do you want me to say the needs in the chat?
Sure.
All right, the first one is from Dr. Pamela Russell. It says a home that can be used for counseling services and 1 or 2 night stays for emotionally overwhelmed clients. This is not a home, but a place of refuge. Then we have further down, Tina Baker with the Community Partnership Schools. They have another meeting at 9 a.m. at the Keystone High School. They are in need of card tables. We have access to chairs for setting up outside for mentoring sessions, but they need card tables. So if any assistance, please contact Tina Baker, tina.baker at chsfl.org, or her phone number is 904-362-0325. And then the next one is Leanne Cole from the county has, she didn't say what the need is. All she said was ## need.
Can I talk about that need that I put in the chat? Actually, the home, we're looking for a home that's urban. Well, is urban the right word? I'm not sure. That's not in right next to somebody else. It's a home that we're looking for that's outside of the neighborhood, because we want a quiet place. And as a counselor, and I work in a building where there are several counselors, and sometimes that person just needs a break and they don't want to have to go and pay for a hotel room. So in this home, we want to provide that break, but at the same time, do personal one-on-one counseling with them, hold counseling classes, training, anger management, but just give them the opportunity to settle in their head, whatever that overwhelming thing is that happened. But it is not a place for them to live for 2 or 3 weeks. It's just for a night or 2 nights. And there is such a huge need. because of the status of mental health in the community. That's what we're looking for. We've gotten some donations, but what we need is a home near the lake, somewhere that we can either that they would grant it to us and we would pay the taxes and the upkeep, or that's what we're looking for. And it would be called the place of refuge.
Thank you, Dr. Pamela. Leanne Cole has elaborated on her need. It says sponsors needed for an event in May for Hope Therapy called Celebration of Hope fundraiser. It's a barbecue. The tentative date is May 14th. So if you would like more information, please call or email Marian Davenport. Her number is 904-881-5513, and the email is hopetherapy@bellsouth.net.
What's that phone number again?
904-881-5513. The next need is from Christy Fitzgerald. Nominations for our Golden Years Gala celebrating senior volunteers in Clay County. The categories of Man of the Year, Woman of the Year, and the Ernie Cohen Lifetime Achievement Award. And the link is in the chat. And I'm sure you guys will receive all this stuff after, right? I think Callan, you'll send that out, or Dawn?
I'll put it on the website too, claysafetynet.org.
Thank you so much, Mark. The next one is from First Coast Women's Services. Another need for sponsors for the Denim and Diamonds fundraiser for First Coast Women's Services on March 25th. So if you'd like to be a sponsor and can meet that need, you can call 904-549-6106 or jpace@fcwsprc.org.
Great.
All right, Christy Fitzgerald has one more. It says Shepherd Center of Orange Park is looking for instructors in our Adventures in Learning program, especially a yoga instructor. That's all that's in the chat, Dawn.
Okay. Well, we are coming up on 10 minutes till. And if there are no other announcements, I kind of want to go out on a limb somehow. You know, listening to the process that we went through today, you know, reminded me of, you know, the fingers in the dike sort of image. We're all got our fingers in holes that we see in the dike to try to keep the flood from coming. And I'll use the example of the coordinated medical care initiative that we are launching. One of the main purposes of it is to turn over every rock and find every person in need under those rocks, so that we have an idea of what that need is, the scope of that need. And the hope is that if we know the scope, then we can build the infrastructure to address it. And but until you know exactly what that need is, you're not going to know what you need to address it. If you expand that concept to every health, social, and human service need in Clay County, I think what we're talking about is needing a human services master plan. So we all have plans in our areas of what we do in medical, what we do in dental, what we do in behavioral health, substance abuse, and so on. But there's no unifying master plan that ties all this in. So I'm going to start getting on maybe a soapbox and see if this is something that we can do as a county, as a community, so that we can know where all the rocks are, turn them over and say, what infrastructure do we have today that works? What infrastructure do we lack, and how can we build it? And I think that might be a good activity to embark on. It's not something that would happen overnight, but I think there's a wave of change right now, and there's unprecedented support coming from Clay County government that we can harness and steer to make, to try to close all these gaps in our safety net. So I don't think we have Patrick on us today, with us today to close us. Is there anyone else here that would like to close us in prayer?
I'll do it.
Great. Thank you, Doctor.
Father, we just thank you today. We thank you that you watch over us and you keep us. And your word says that you give us witty inventions. And so as we all come together to help one another, as we join arms so that no one falls, continue to give us witty inventions, continue to supply the need, to continue to show us the resources, because you know all things. And we ask, God, that in this endeavor that you would help to keep us all safe as we seek to help others. The law of reciprocity is in full effect in this group of people, and we thank you for that. So we ask you now to watch over us as we go our individual places and we reach our destination as we continue to do work. And we give you glory and honor and praise for doing it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Russell.
You're welcome.
And thank everyone for attending. Please spread the word. We had 52, I think, at our height, and you can always add a couple of that because some people come and then they go, and then other people come and go. Please join us in February. That will be February the 17th. And stay tuned. Close the safety net gaps. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Alan.
Bye.